And there you go, this nice little speaker that Reverend Jeff has allowed us to borrow. Welcome again, everybody. You know, it's funny. Oh, Jeff, yeah, you want to go ahead and hit that button? Yeah, that's one of the updates that Zoom did. Now you have to have permission from each party to record. Anyhow, it's funny. Tomorrow is Father's Day. Wow. Before I go any further, I do want to give a shout out to all the fathers and say Happy Father's Day to everybody. How many of you here are fathers? Quick show of hands. Well, almost everybody. Perhaps someday. Anyway, Happy Father's Day. Yeah, the last time I spoke, coincidentally or not coincidentally, it was Mother's Day. And I had also just gotten back from another road trip, that time to Colorado. And as it just so happens, I just completed a second road trip this past week. I got back the other day from San Antonio. Now, quick question before I actually start the speech tonight. How many of you have ever been to San Antonio? Two of you? Randy, Gail, or Doris, have either of you ever been to San Antonio? No. Okay, well, funny story. San Antonio, of course, it's famous for the Alamo, and Dale, you've obviously been there, and I went there, but they have something called the Riverwalk. Now, the Riverwalk, now when you picture a river, you think it's like, you know, like the Arkansas River here, this big wide thing with, you know, trees and rocks on the sides and everything. And I thought I was going to be in this lush environment and all that, but it turns out it's actually a canal. They really channelized it and a lot of cement and everything like that, but that's okay. It's a very beautiful walk and it goes through the city parts of it. And there's a lot of shops and restaurants. Anyway, I thought I would, since I'm there, I'm going to get out and explore this canal walk or river walk as it's known. And I had my dog Jackie with me. And of course, we are big runners. We like to go running. And the canal goes for miles east or west, either direction. Pick your direction. Anyhow, one morning, Jackie and I decided just to go for a run. And I had her on the leash, and we'd be running, and it would be shady and shady. But every time we got to a sunny spot, Jackie would stop and like, whoa, pull my arm. It's like, Jackie, what are you doing there? What's going on? And then she would kind of tiptoe around and, you know, kind of stay in the shade. And then we get in a shady spot and then she'd be fine. And she would start running again. Then all of a sudden, sunny spot and same thing. It's like, Jackie, what are you doing here? What's going on? Anyhow, we kept going. And this cycle repeated itself for about 2 or 3, I think maybe even 4 times until I finally figured out what was going on. And I looked at Jackie and I said, okay, Jackie, I get this. I get what's going on. And so do you know why Jackie was always stopping at the sunny spots and wanting to stay in the shade? She didn't want to be a hot dog. So, I don't know. That's my opening icebreaker. I hope everybody liked it. But that's actually true. It was sunny and shady a little bit on the trail there. Anyhow, diving into today's topic, the theme for this month has been a soul's call. And today is specifically, what is the soul's evolution without love? And I actually read this before I went on my trip, and my brain likes to analyze and think. And so I began to think a lot about this question. The soul's evolution without love, is that even possible? Can that even happen? Is there even such a thing as not love? As we learn in Science of Mind, love is actually all there is because God is all there is and God is love. And I thought, well, how is this even possible? Can there be the soul's evolution without love? And as I thought more about this, I thought, well, I don't know necessarily about the soul evolving without love, but I do know something about struggle. And I do know something about my soul evolving with struggle. And I'm not necessarily talking about the struggles of everyday life. Of course, you know, working a job, putting food on the table, paying the bills, whatever natural things might come up in life, a divorce or bankruptcy, an illness, a car accident. These are certainly all struggles. But I'm talking more about the spiritual kind. What are we here for? What is the point of any of this? What is the point of life? What is the purpose? What is my purpose? And of course, all these questions started to go through my mind. And then I thought for a second, well, you know, I wonder if other people are having these same issues, these same struggles. And is it actually really a struggle? What is this word struggle? And is it in fact maybe actually love in disguise? I wasn't sure about any of this, but I kept pondering these questions. And of course, on the way home, with the long car drive, I like to listen to podcasts. And coincidentally, or as the universe works, not coincidentally, a podcast came on by Michael Singer. Some of you might know him. He is the author of The Untethered Soul, as well as Surrender Experiment, two very good books that I would recommend. And it just so happens he was talking about the evolution of the soul. Coincidence or not, I don't know, but the stars are lining up. This is good. The podcast, I speak next week. This is the topic. It's all working out beautifully. The universe is working its magic as we speak. One of the key points he made in the podcast, this idea about the evolution of the soul, is that we all want the same thing. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want to experience peace. We all want to experience harmony. We all want to experience that joy, that pure ecstasy, that pure bliss that we call the Christ consciousness or the God consciousness. And this is true regardless of our culture, regardless of the language we speak, regardless of even our religious beliefs. Everybody in the world wants the same thing, that core essence of who we are. And this is what he started to talk about. That is where our soul is evolving to, is to be that true, authentic self, that centeredness in this Christ consciousness, this God consciousness. And as I'm listening, I'm thinking, this is really good stuff, but then why is it so hard? Why is it such a struggle? If our soul wants to evolve to that Christ consciousness, why is there such a journey? Why aren't we just there already? So, being the scientist that I am with my science background, I decided to conduct a little experiment. And this is maybe an experiment that you can all try for yourself and for your life. And I did this experiment just this past week, just a few days ago, actually this past Wednesday. I said, okay, I don't want to be in this position where I'm on this roller coaster journey where one day I'm on cloud 9 and the next day is a struggle, and then part of cloud 9, part of a struggle, all this crazy stuff that goes on inside. How many of you have experienced that? Yeah, all the ups and downs and the emotions and everything that come with life. And after listening to this podcast, I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I am going to be centered in this Christ consciousness the entire day. No matter what happens, no matter who says what, no matter what happens in traffic, who cuts me off or not cuts me off, no matter if that light is red or green, no matter if I get called into my boss's office or I get that telephone call, nothing is going to disturb my center. And so I went to bed that night, very focused, very determined. Next day, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be centered in consciousness. The next morning, I wake up, get out of bed, I stretch. Of course, I have to let Jackie out and do her thing. And I sit down and I meditate. Except I did it a little bit differently than how Michael described in his podcast. He describes a technique where you relax and you release and you just let everything go. Whatever stimulus you have coming in from the outside world in the form of a telephone call, an email, traffic, his technique is to relax, release, and let go. And that's a very good technique. I would recommend it. It definitely works. I want to try something different. I said, I'm going to override everything with the Christ consciousness. I'm just going to let it dwell up within me and overflow and pour out of me. So that's what I focused my meditation on for about 15 minutes. And the neat thing is, it worked. I got that chi energy, as he describes it, flowing. I got that chakra flowing. Now on to bigger and better things. It's easy to do it when you're in the midst of your quiet little trailer and there's nothing disturbing you. Now, can we do this in the real world? So I had my determination on, I had my centeredness. Out into the world I went. Meeting after meeting, phone call after phone call, situation after situation. We had a couple fires that day, so to speak. I think we had 2 or 3 different fire drills because sometimes in a residence center, those things get set off accidentally. The whole day, I was able to stay centered in this God consciousness. And I got home that evening and I said to myself, you know what? I did it. I stayed centered in that God consciousness. It took determination, it took commitment, but it worked. Now, here's where I started to question myself again. Is this really what my soul is evolving to? To be centered in this Christ consciousness. I did it. It wasn't that hard. It wasn't that bad. It's like, okay. Now, I didn't repeat the experiment, and I'm going to do that. And I would recommend all of you try this for one day. Center yourself, focus yourself, whatever it takes, remain centered in that Christ consciousness, that focus, that centeredness. But anyway, I thought, okay, I did this. Is this really all there is? Is this the highest that my soul is going to evolve to? And if this is the case, why such a struggle? Or is it really a struggle? I went to bed pondering these thoughts, and then I woke up the next morning, and again, God is working God's magic, and the stars lined up, and I woke up to this quote in my email from Neil Donald Walsh. I wanted to read this to you. He's the author of the Conversations with God series, if you're not familiar with that. This is the quote. It is okay to be at a place of struggle. Struggle is another word for growth, and growth is another word for love. Even the most evolved beings, and to me, I put Jesus and Buddha in that category, find themselves in a place of struggle now and then. In fact, struggle is a sure sign that you are expanding. It is an indication of real and true progress. The only one who doesn't struggle is the one who doesn't grow. So if you are struggling right now, see it as a terrific sign and celebrate your struggle. Whew, that's it, I thought to myself. It's not about struggle. It's about love. And then that original question, that the theme for today, what is the soul's evolution without love? There is no evolution without love, because evolution is growth, and growth is love. And of course, it was not a coincidence that that quotation came into my life. And I wanted to remind everyone again today that we do all have struggles. But if we look at it from a different point of view, it's not so much a struggle as it is a growth. And a growth as our souls are evolving, and that growth is love. And that is God, that is the universe, that is the divine spirit gently taking us by the hand and say, come with me, everything will be all right. So I want to point out and remind everyone again that it may not seem like it, that it may not always seem like God is leading you, that God is taking you by the hand. But remember, again, as we learn in Science of Mind, trust the process. Something that I needed to relearn that week. Hence, again, the quotation showed up for me. Has there ever been a time where God did not get it right? I can't think of one. Of course, there have been times in my life where I said, God, I wish you didn't love me quite so much. There was always that. It was a relief to understand this, knowing that struggle actually means growth and the evolution of the soul. But again, after my experiment, where I was able to remain centered in that state of God consciousness for the day, that divine buzz, I thought to myself, is that it? Is that really all there is? If my soul has evolved to that level where I could remain in a state of consciousness for the entire day, then what? What's next? My soul was craving for more growth. And of course, as the way life works, I was driving home Thursday, this is just 2 days ago, in my car along the I-75 where they have that intersection and all the traffic is. And literally just as I slowed down, God worked God's magic again. And God said to me, be the hand of God. And I went, oh, that's where my soul is going next. And that is what I wanted to really share with you today. That is where our souls are evolving. Now, what do I mean by be the hand of God? Here at Science of Mind, we are fortunate to understand two key principles. Two principles that I think a lot of citizens around the world don't understand. The first principle, of course, is that we are all one with God, and that God is all there is. And the second principle, then, is that within us is something called that inner GPS. what I like to call that God-powered system. And we have the ability to use this inner GPS for anything we want. This is our genie's lamp. This is our Aladdin. We can use this anything we want, anytime, any place, anywhere. And whether you think this or not, this is the basis of science of mind. This is what we learn. You have this power. So a question came to me that I want to ask all of you today. And it leads to this concept of be the hand of God. If you have this inner GPS, this God-powered system, and you could use it for one thing, just one thing, anything at all in this world, what would it be? What would it be for? Would it be to manifest $1 million? Nothing wrong with that. Which, by the way, you can do that. You do have the ability to do that. Would it be to manifest $1 million so that you have financial security for the rest of your life, so that you can pay for your bills and perhaps even help out some family members or a friend or two to help pay their bills and help set them up to be financially secure for life? Would you manifest $1 million for yourself, or would you manifest $1 million for yourself and everyone else in the world? Would you manifest $1 million so that not just you, but every single person everywhere on this planet had the ability of a hot shower, had the ability of a warm bed, of a full stomach, that all their bills were paid everywhere that they went? And I thought, oh, that's what is meant by be the hand of God. It's not about what we can do for ourselves. To paraphrase what President Kennedy once said, it's not about what we can do for ourselves, but what we can do for others. And you see, the soul can only evolve through love, with love, and as love. And God has never done anything for himself or herself personally. God always does things for others, through others, and as others. And imagine if we could be the God in somebody else's life. Imagine if you could use your internal GPS, your inner God-powered system, to manifest something for someone else. What would it be? A clean water system, perhaps. That somebody else's bills are paid. That our church here is successful. That we have all the resources for food, for people, for financial resources, even for music, so that Walida can have some additional support with her music capabilities. Ernest Holmes states that if we want to manifest something in our lives, be the source of that manifestation. If you want to truly experience more peace, then be the source of that peace. If you truly want to experience more happiness, be the source of that happiness. If you want to experience more love, then be the source of that love. Be the source, be the hand that is God. Reach out. Use the inner GPS that we all know about, not just for ourselves, but for someone, somewhere else. And to me, that is our soul evolving to that next stage. Yes, we can, and it does take practice. Stay centered in that God consciousness. And I would urge you all to try that same experiment. It's an incredible flow. In fact, I'm going to work on myself repeating that day after day after day to be in that divine buzz. But you know what God does? Once he gets you to level 5, then you got to go to level 6. That's how the game works. Once you get to level 6, you got to go to level 7. And I don't know what that is yet. And I haven't asked God. I don't want to know the answer. I don't think I'm quite ready for that yet. But level 6, for example, be the hand of God. So remember, next time you are struggling or feel that life is not working out for you, that you have to reach out for that easy button is already there. All you have to do is look inside. That's where you find the easy button. And all you have to do is push it. And push it not just for yourself, but for another person. Then when you do that, your soul, any soul will evolve with love. Because we are all one with God. We cannot do anything that is not love. And when you do that, your soul will awaken to its higher purpose, its higher consciousness. Let me begin to wrap up this talk today with a short story. On May 3rd, 1980, on May 3rd, 1980, a young 13-year-old girl by the name of Carrie Leitner was walking along a quiet county road to her church carnival when suddenly a car swerved and hit her and killed her instantly. The man driving the car was drunk. He was a drunk driver. This unfortunate incident turned into being the hand of God. The tragedy spurred her mother, Candy Leitner, to use her inner GPS and found the organization that we now know as MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. In 1980, the year that Carrie died, and before the founding of MAD, there was an estimated 27,000 drunken driving related fatalities in the United States. By 2019, that number had been reduced by more than half to just over 10,000, thanks in parts to the efforts of the MAD organization. Now, while even one death from drunk driving is one death too many, this is an example of what happens when you reach out and be the hand of God. How your soul can awaken to its greater good, to its higher consciousness through the use of God, through the use of love, with love, through love, as love. And when you use your inner GPS for that higher good. So as I conclude this, let me just say this. Be the hand of God. Use your inner GPS and change the world for someone, somewhere, and that is how your soul will awaken to its greater purpose, to its highest purpose, and how the soul evolves through love, with love, and as love. Do unto others as you'd have done unto you. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Be the hand of God, and so it is.